taking your correct precautions. So there's always kind of an important part there. Yes. So in order to continue the trend that we've been doing, who gets it, who pays for it, and stuff like that. So you need to understand what workers' compensation is, what it's going to the way that is going to be. So the cases are going to be different. It's going to have a case manager. It's going to have just everything in order to make sure that we don't have waste. So different form, different reports. Appeals and adjudication is going to be two different things. We're going to because of that, we're going to have the type of managed care that we said in the other ones, and at the end we're going to have to avoid fraud and abuse. So let's go over all the things. First is who pays for workers' compensation. So in this case, workers' compensation is paid, okay, or let's say it's sponsored by the federal government, if it's federal, or state and the employer. So this is how it's going to work. Thank you. I'm still seeing the first slide. Yep, it's not moving. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's go back. There. Is it moving? Introduction. Yes, back to outline. Thank you. If that happens again, just let me know. Okay, perfect. So I was saying, in order to get right, we need to see who pays for it. So that's state and federal. Who gets it? The coverage, and it has to be someone that is working and while performing their duties, they get sick or injured. The different classifications for the workers' compensation cases. They're gonna have managed care or case managers. We're gonna have different forms. Appeals and adjudication are gonna be different, and when that is done, then we're gonna move to the next payer, and then we need to find a way of controlling fraud and abuse in this type of cases. So first, a little bit of an introduction. So federal and state laws will require employers, and this is the important part, employers to maintain workers' compensation coverage at the minimum standards. They're gonna cover most of the employees, and the important part here is work-related illnesses and injuries. So when I say who gets or who gets Medicare, when you say 65 years or older, ancestral disease, or disabled before 18, and if I say who gets Medicaid, you go low income. If you say Triker, you say active military personnel and their families. If you say Chambier, you mean someone that was disabled while in active duty. Here, who gets workers' compensation? Anyone that got into a work-related illness or injury. Simple. Now, there's a little caveat here is as long as the employee was not negligent. So someone works at Walmart and they are, you know, I don't know, playing with a football inside the store or whatever while they are at work, and they fall and get injured. That's not part of their job description. They are negligent in that regard. They don't get workers' compensation. Now, the same Walmart employee, it's a cashier, for example, and it's suffering back pain because of standing for long periods of time or whatever it is. Then at that point, then yes, that's gonna be a workers' compensation related case. So different from everything else is that workers' compensation is going to cover two things, and the thing that is going to cover is health care and compensation, money compensation. So money for the hours for the time that you're out that way you were supposed to be getting paid. Not always, but most of the time. So it's both healthcare and loss of wages. Workers' compensation are going to protect employers and fellow workers by limiting the award of injured employee that can recover from an employer, and by eliminating liability of coworkers in most accidents. So there's federal compensation applied for federal employees or workers employed by significant aspect of interest of commerce. Individual states, and it will be for individual states laws following, and they will apply to most of their employers. Again, most, except federal, that are going to be under federal law. So, what purpose is the federal and state law? Federal and state law require employees to maintain workers' compensation, and because they're gonna do the maintain to the minimum standards, they're gonna cover most of the employees for again work-related illnesses and injury, as long as they were not negligent. In order to do that, we have the workers' compensation or the federal workers' compensation programs. So this is part of the U.S. Department of Labor Office of Workers' Compensation Programs. So part of the federal government. It's the one that is going to administer the plan to make the following available for employees. And they're gonna cover, when you say the basic things that they're gonna cover, they're gonna cover wage replacement benefits. So if you lose time out of work, then they'll pay some of the money you're owed, and they will pay medical treatment. If it's a thing that causes some type of acute disability, then vocational rehab also will be paid for it. And in the case of federal workers, they're gonna have extra benefits, and the benefits usually are to eligible dependents. Okay, so it covers the employee and their dependents. There's a few programs that started this, and because of them, everything we have, the ones that we have now, coal mine workers compensation program or black loan program. That you've seen that already, and when you see the CMS 1500 form, has a section on the top where you can you're gonna use that program. So it says Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, CHAMBA, and it says Black Loan Program, and then it says Other. So Energy Employees Occupational Illness Compensation, Federal Employees Compensation Program, and Longshore and Harbor Workers Compensation Program. But all of these ones were the ones that started, and after this it moved to the states. So let's see what the programs or the things are for each program. Federal Department of Labor follow the programs which are designed to prevent work-related injuries. We have an Employee Compensation Appeals Board, and this is someone that you will see if you submit any claim. They have the Mine Safety and Health Administration, and one that is going to be on your certification exam, OSHA, or the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. OSHA is the administration that has to do with the Department of Health, Department of Health and Human Services, part of the federal government that is going to set the standards for safety and health while the individual is at work. So that's why it's called occupational. So if you are working in construction, the OSHA guidelines will be that you have a hard hat, that you have some reflective vest, so cars or anything can see you. If you work in the medical field, that you could use personal protective equipment, gloves, gowns, uh, stuff like that. So um, we set those things in place and we try to abide by them, and hopefully then everyone will be safe and healthy. But still, many of the things that we do are not conducive to be safe and healthy. So we have to go over them. So you'll see that the appeals board is going to go over what the Occupational Safety and Health Administration guidelines are, or the OSHA guidelines are, and if we're following and we cannot find that the individual was negligent in any regard, then you'll be or the patient will be um, able to ask for workers' compensation benefits. So I always give the same example. If someone is working in construction and they do not wear their hard hat, then and something falls on their head, then they're not, even though it's gonna be a worse injury than if they had uh, the the hard hat, they will not be eligible for workers' compensation because they were negligent in following the Occupational Safety and Health Administration guidelines. If you are a nurse, if you are a doctor, a medical assistant, anyone working in the health field, and you get in contact with blood, for example, or any bodily fluid without gloves, and you get sick because of it, sadly, you are not entitled to workers' compensations because you are deemed negligent because you were not following the guidelines. Kind of what the same thing was happening during COVID. OSHA guidelines were that you needed to wear a mask in the place of service. So if you were working at a hospital or a doctor's office, you needed to wear a mask. If you did not, then you were not following the guidelines, and a lot of people got COVID after that, and then they were saying, "Oh, I got COVID at work. I want work compensation," and a case manager will go and check, and the first thing that they will ask, were you wear your mask? Were you vaccinated? Or no, then at that point, the individual could not get workers' compensation. So because they were deemed negligent, because they were not using the personal protective equipment that was available for them not to get sick. So again, many other examples. Uh, think about whatever you want, any type of work that you could do. If you're a delivery guy, a driver, then you get into a car accident, they will pay for it if you were, not speeding, not drinking, not on drugs. You had your seat belt, like all those things, and you know are gonna be part of the OSHA guidelines for your specific uh, occupation. So each state is gonna have their own workers' compensation program and a board, and that board is gonna be responsible for doing the administration of the workers' compensation laws, handling the appeals of denied claims in the case the worker feels that compensation was too low. There's two types of state compensation insurance funds. There's a competitive state insurance fund. That one is the one that allows employers to buy workers' compensation insurance from the state. state or private insurance company, or we have the monopolistic state insurance fund. That one requires employers to purchase work compensation insurance through the state insurance fund only. So basically, what we're saying here, who it's gonna pay for it, or who's gonna provide it, and how you're gonna buy it. So the state has a big say. So the state is the one that is gonna basically sell it. So the money comes from the state, but it's also paid by the employer. So in both sides, you said that it was paid or purchased by the employer. So the employer and the state. So now when I ask who pays or who provides the workers' compensation insurance, it's a combination of the state and the employer. So either the employer buys to the state and the state puts the money down, or the employer pays buys from a private insurance. So basically, it's employer pays and the state. But at the end of the day, who runs the program? The state. Okay, unless it's a federal one. So what are the two types? We said it. Both are the state, the monopolistic, and the competitive. Okay. Again, we have federal and we have state for both. Now, here's where we get to the simple questions. How is someone eligible for workers' compensation? The employee must be suffering from the following: injured or sick. This is important, it's both injured or sick while working and while doing what they were supposed to do, so while they're adhering to their job description. Or injured, okay, while performing a service that was required by the employer. So, let's see who we have here. We have Christian. I want to use Christian. Christian works for Walmart. Okay, he's a cashier at Walmart. If he develops an injury while being a cashier, lifting things or whatever, then he gets workers' compensation. That's the job description: be a cashier, nothing else. But all of a sudden, one day, the manager says, "Hey, Christian, can you help me out? I don't know, pressure wash the sidewalk in the outside of, or the entrance at the Walmart." Okay, and that's not part of the job description, but it was something that the manager asked for. So manager asks the representative of Walmart. Then now Christian goes and starts pressure washing the front. There's water, there's soap. He falls. He gets a back injury that way. So that was not performing his job description, but he was doing something that the employer asked for. So it becomes a problem. The last one here says it's something that is developed directly linked to employment. And the example for that one is the coal miners. They get problems with breathing problems. They get problems in the lungs, and it's because of the employment. So there's things that we can mitigate what happened, but it's sometimes it's unavoidable. It's really important that that you understand that the employee does not have to be physically on the company property to qualify for workers' compensation. So this is a thing that in order to understand, you could be doing something for the company. You could be traveling to another place that is not your work of employment. Let's say you're driving to a meeting. If anything happens to you while you are en route to that meeting, you are on company time, not at the property, or maybe you're visiting a client. Whatever it is, you could still be eligible for workers' compensation, because again, it's not part of the job description, but you are performing a service required by the employer. In this case, somewhere else, not at your physical actual place of employment. Now, again, think about it like this. If, and we have both, uh, the uh, working, okay,
Yeah.
while performing your job description or by doing something else or en route to somewhere else or in another place, okay, not physically in the company property. But really important, I mean, the main one is performing what you're supposed to do. So you cannot be doing anything else. You cannot be doing something that on your own you decided to do. You cannot be dancing onto a table, whatever, unless that's your job. So if you're doing something that is not what you're supposed to do, then that kind of stops the workers' compensation claim on the tracks because you're not doing what you were supposed to be doing. You might not be working. You might be at the Walmart doing something else, playing around. I don't know, something. So you have to be working. You have to be doing what you're supposed to do. If not, you are not eligible for workers' compensation. So requirements again: injured while working, doing the job description, performing service by the required by the employer, or example, getting something because of employment. A long time ago, we used to use asbestos um, as a fire retardant, and many properties have it, and it becomes a problem. Uh, Little tiny particles go into your lungs and causes problems like that. Now, in some examples, and here's where it gets uh, kind of different. In some examples, the risk is there. Okay, so it's kind of like a matter of time until something actually happens. So some states, not the federal, but some states are going to have what we call stress-related disorders. To some workers are going to be in high stress occupation. Example of high stress occupations: emergency service personnel, air traffic controllers, people that have to do with hostage situations, work, police officers, um, yeah, anything like that. Now, so what is the thing? Like again, stress related disorders are common uh, um, on those occupations. Then again, you have to be high alert all the time, and you're dealing with things that are extremely stressful, extremely delicate. Your decisions can affect people's life, and in some cases, multiple uh, lives. So it becomes a problem. So we have workers' compensation qualifications for coverage for them. Again, you do not have to be physically in the company property to qualify. So again, um, the firefighters is a perfect example. A firefighter usually do not work from the fire station. Most of their job is outside the fire station. So something happens, then they will do that too. Before we had that thing that the worker had to be in the property where they were employed, and little by little it changed into expanding more a little bit. So real quick to recap this, you have to first of all it's an employee. Okay, that employee has to be injured while working. Okay, by doing what they're supposed to do, by doing their job, or while performing something that they were supposed to do, or something that's directly attached to what they do. And you could have high stress occupation again. stress-related disorders. So again, if you go, you're at Walmart, you're a cashier at Walmart, and you say I'm suffering from stress related to my work, then the probably your state um, will not say that you qualify for workers' compensation in that case. Now, there's all the things that could be happening, you know. So yes, so anything that you can document will work. Now, in order to know what the classifications are for workers' compensation cases, they're gonna have medical treatment. So if you're suffering from an illness or an injury and you need a medical treatment, again, treatment becomes apparent after the evaluation and management. So we have to evaluate, we have to do tests, we have to treat. Then all of that will be covered. They might get temporary disability. So let's say you broke a leg, you're disabled from working until your leg heals, or you could be permanently disabled. So it could be something that you cannot come back from. We'll give you vocational rehab for both, and if it's something where someone dies, then you can have survival benefits. The thing that is not here is that all of those things are gonna be accompanied by money, by wages. So whatever money you were supposed to make during the time that you're sick or disabled or in rehab, not all of it, but some of it you can claim back by the wages.
Ahí no me cambie.
Sorry about that. Okay. So if the claim has to do with medical treatment, is again is the easiest one because almost everything like before is the easiest to process. They are filled with minor illnesses or injuries, and they are treated by a healthcare provider. So that looks exactly like everything that we've done before. It's CPT codes, ICD codes, prices, and away they go. The problem is that they will have, we call them cases, and this is an important word here, even though it says claim here, but it's a case. So a case where the employee suffers something, they will, continue to work or return to work really fast. So there's no loss of wages in that regard. So it's only the medical treatment, simple. Straight to a point is exactly like we've seen before. Why, what, when, by who. That's about it. So a CPT, an ICD, some prices, who did it, boom, we have a claim. Now, the part that I said a case is really important because they want to have a case manager. So the case manager is going to be someone that has knowledge of the specific treatment that should be given. It has knowledge with insurance, the amount of time, and they're gonna be handling basically like case by case what should happen to that patient. So every time we're gonna do something to that patient, that has to be related to the case manager. In most of the cases, the case manager is gonna be accompanying the employee to the visits to the doctor's office and to evaluations and stuff like that. So again, not super complicated because at the end of the day, they deem things necessary or not almost instantaneously. They might send it for review, but again, it's fairly simple. It works fast, and there's not a lot of different things that you had to learn or do. So here's where it gets a little bit complicated. Billing for it is a little bit different. Again, not super different, but in some cases it is. So number one thing, and this is common, and you will know that this is a common occurrence. Providers will require to accept workers' compensation allowable fee as payment in full without complaining, without doing anything, without being able to appeal payment. You can appeal non-payment for every single insurance that we've talked about: Blue Cross Blue Shield, all the other private insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, workers' compensation, Champion, all of them. If you get a denial, you can appeal. But for all of the governmental ones, Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, Champion, workers' compensation, and TRICARE, you have to accept payment in full. If they send you a payment, that's it. You cannot argue, complain, or appeal. In the commercial or private, you can. So you can always appeal payments. Maybe you thought it was less or it was more, whatever it was. Okay. But with the government, you cannot. Okay. You have to accept payments. So it's always assignment of benefits. You accept the assignment of benefits. Yes. If you accept the assignment, that means that you are gonna be okay with whatever they send you. So that's exactly like every other governmental plan. State compensation boards, they're going to be the ones that basically decide what the allowable fees are. They are going to review. So they are entitled by law to review the history and treatment pertaining to the information that goes through that job, on the job injury. So just because you are a case manager or you are an insurance company that is paying for or dealing with the compensation, you should not be able to see all of the patient's information, all of the patient's past history. You can only view and review the current history and treatment from the on-the-job injury that they're treating. Why is that? Because at the beginning of this, one of the things that they did was go back to the history of the patient and say, oh, but this patient had this and this and that. So they were denying claims, trying to say that the patient had another condition before. So they can only see that. So it becomes again an easier way and a more fair thing. Now, this is completely different from everything else. Whenever we are reviewing medical history on a patient, we are able to request all the information that we want. The more information we have, the better we can treat the patient. So this is not about not treating the patient. It's about that we should not, insurance companies should not be checking other things that they're not going to pay for, they're not treating. If you're looking at a health of a patient, then it's a multidisciplinary thing. So yes, you could check other things. And again, it's just controlling how much insurance companies can see. Out of state treatments, billing regulations vary from state to state. So Contract Workers Compensation Board or Workers' Compensation Commission, again, instead of the state commission, now it's the Workers' Compensation Commission in the state, where field has to go and check with the other one in the other state. So again, example of this for some employers that have multiple locations across states. Again, it comes to mind Publix. I should figure out where Publix is located, but I want to say Atlanta or something like that. And they have their workers' compensation and their health insurance comes from other states. So so if you're here, you have to check workers' compensation laws through them and through the Florida also. So again, that's something that changes. We said that for Blue Cross and Blue Shield, that didn't matter if the plan was in one state and the patient was living in another one. That didn't matter. It was gonna be the same. It was gonna be seen by the place where the individual was getting the treatment. in some of these ones, you have to make sure that you do both. Just again, if it's out of state, so a little bit different than what we've seen before. Quick question here. It says how the workers' compensation are classified in bill. Federal law, again, workers' compensation are going to go medical treatment, temporary disability, uh, temporary, permanent, and then rehab and survival. For state workers, has to be all the things that we said, on the job, yada, 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 because states change, because of the rules change from state to state. We need to make sure that we follow both, or we try to make sure that both of the guidelines are followed. Now, managed care. What do we say when we say managed care? I wish I had all of you in front of me. I say managed care, and you say, let's see the chat. I say managed care, and you say, anything, anyone? Are you still there? Type it down. Unmute yourself. I say managed care, and you should say
HMO.
There you go. HMO. Thank you. Okay. So that means what? What is an HMO? An HMO means that now the that that workers' compensation insurance is gonna be managed, or is gonna be done by a private insurance. Okay. So same thing. The government is not in the business of healthcare. The government is in the business of governing or ruling. The what they do is that they give out the healthcare to the people that are in the business of healthcare, and insurance companies are in the business of that. So if I have a managed care, an HMO that can take care of the workers' compensation claims and insurances, then hopefully it's going to be a little bit better. So again, managed care, they have networks of doctors, medical workers, hospitals, pharmacies, and because of that, in many ways they have improved the quality of the benefits and services provided by being having a more comprehensive coverage, expanding healthcare coverage, provisions of appropriate treatment. Again, that's what they do every day. Um, an internal grievance and dispute resolution procedures. I want to talk about that one in a second. And then coordination of medical treatment and procedures, and not out-of-pocket costs. Here is two new things that we haven't seen before: internal grievance on dispute resolution procedures, and no out-of-pocket cost. So let's start with the last one first. Do you think that if you get injured while performing your job, putting yourself in the line for your employer, and something happens to you, should you pay anything out of pocket? I think that question is super easy to answer. No. If someone gets sick or injured while they are working, well, their employer should be responsible, and they should have ways of taking care of you, and in this case is workers' compensation insurances. So managed care plans will ensure that there's no out-of-pocket costs for the patient. This is the first time that we've been hearing this, because every other insurance that we've talked about, including Medicaid, uh, HMOs, Medicaid by itself has no out-of-pocket cost for the patient, but HMOs for Medicaid do have out-of-pocket costs. Super tiny, but still they have some. So you could pay co-payments, and again, even though those co-payments are small compared to the other insurances, they are there. So this is the only one that is 100% non out-of-pocket costs for the patient. This one, integral grievance and dispute resolution. So we talk about the appeals process in every single other uh, um, uh, insurance asks if there's no payment, because you did something wrong, and you have to appeal and try to make sure that you get the money back. In this one, the disputes and the resolution are gonna be smoother because it's uh, like kind of engraved into the instructions of managed care instead of the workers' compensation. Because again, if you think about it, workers' compensation uh, claims or cases are gonna be extremely difficult because the insurance wants to pay, and that thing is not to spend a lot of money. The uh, the patient wants one thing, and it's or two things: one, to get better; two, to get as much money as possible from this, and maybe uh, kind of nice vacation until they actually get ready to go back. And then there's is this back and forth between them, and it becomes a problem. So that was happening to, and still happens to, workers' compensation claims that are sent not through managed care. So most of them are managed care here in Florida. All of them are managed care. Our private insurances are gonna take care of those. So again, it's an easier way of doing this. That's why we have um, those case managers. So again, why and what are the things that have been better? Both employees and employers have benefited from managed care because of, again, if you go by the most important thing is the medical care for the employee. Okay, so employees get better, more comprehensive coverage, and expanded healthcare, expanded benefits. Like that's the most important thing. Second thing is for employers, they can reduce the workers' compensation cost by using managed care, because again, managed care takes the same things that they use in other managed care programs and in their private insurance into the implementation of this workers' compensation. Now, here's where it gets a little bit different. There's some forms and some reports that you have to complete. The workers' compensation the workers' compensation claim will be in why the workers' compensation claim, there you go, will be completed in the CMF 1500 form. Again, outpatient, everything simple, but they require additional attachments. Number one additional attachment that you have to send every single time you send the CMF 1500 form for a workers' compensation claim, it's a first report of injury. Okay, that has to be there. That has to be there. If it's not there, it's not. It's denial immediately. There's no way that you can say I am seeing this patient for uh, work-related injury if there's no report uh, of that injury. Okay, so the first thing, it's a different form or report that will say that the initial report of when the patient went to seek treatment for the first time. After that, we're going to do what we call progress reports in other parts of the classes. I mentioned them as progress notes. So we consider them progress notes when it's just a doctor writing them in a medical record, but it's a progress report if it's for workers' compensation. It's a little bit different. It's detailed, a lot more detail narrative of the progress, supplemental report, and documenting changes to the worker's medical disability or status. Usually includes uh, um, a date when the patient will be able to return to work. It's every single time. Okay, so this is really important. you want the claim to be paid, it requires a little bit more effort than your typical form, your typical claim. Starts with CMS 1500 form, and in addition of it, the report for the first report for injury or progress report for every time the patient goes. Send those two things with labs and pictures and whatever else they're asking, and you should be fine and you should get paid. These are the ones that by far require the most documentation, the most detailed and complete documentation for them to get paid. Missing any of these things will delay payment, not necessarily will deny it, but it will delay payment. And usually these cases have a cap or a specific amount of money that the insurance has allowed it to get to. And when that money runs out, that's it. You cannot bill anything else. So for if you end up working at a place that takes workers' compensation claims, then you have to make sure that you are on top of every single documentation that you need. What is the documentation? Again, simple. We're gonna use the CMS 1500 form and the first report of injury and the progress reports. Again, no payment if you don't have that. As simple as that. Okay, you will not get that paid. Vanessa asks, meaning that for workers' compensation for billing purposes, you need to file CMS 1500 and a progress report. Yes, every single time, and probably uh, uh, supplemental information for that progress report. So it could be those two forms, the CMS 1500 form and the progress report, plus anything that supports the progress report. So if you say the patient had a broken leg, first report has the report plus the X-rays for the broken leg, a lecture of that X-ray, an interpretation of that X-ray. Second time progress report, CMS 1500 form, progress report, and now a new X-ray or a new lab, whatever it is. So yes, it is like that. And usually, if you see, and you'll see it, if you have the size of, you think about it as a paper file. If you have a paper file for a patient that you see many times during many years, it gets like a kind of big. Paper file for a workers' compensation claim gets big fast. There's so many documents, so many things that it's a lot more than the other ones. So yes, those two and more, possible more. Usually, one of the other things that could happen is that, for example, if you from on the first report of injury, your plan is to do something, then you send that and they tell you that you have to do something else and you have to kind of update the report, so it's even more documentation. And FYI, almost all these cases end up in some type of litigation. So yeah, they can ask for every single document on that file for you to send to court. Appeals and adjudication. Fancy word here, adjudication. Please remember, adjudication is the decision of the insurance company, or adjudication is a decision. Okay, so adjudication is could be we're gonna pay, we are going to pay in full, we are going to partially pay, we are going to deny it. So deny. So the insurance company is gonna decide what they're gonna do, and they're gonna give you what is called an adjudication. That adjudication is the decision. Okay. Now, if the decision is denial, then now that adjudication ends up in a judicial dispute where we need to make what we call final determination. So the determination was denial, That's the adjudication, determination, adjudication, denial. And we're gonna do a final determination after we put it in front of a judge. In order to put it in front of a judge, we have what's called the position. It's a legal proceeding where the party's gonna answer questions under oath. This is not open court, but it's usually with arbitrators. And then they're gonna again do the adjudication now, a final determination, and they're gonna say, okay, the appeal is successful, or we uphold the appeal. We uphold the denial. So successful appeal is when a board or the commission notifies the healthcare provider that they are going to basically get paid. Okay. So this happens all the time. It happens so much that it's a burden to many providers, and that's why many providers do not take workers' compensation claims. Some providers specialize in workers' compensation claims. Some others just don't even try it. So most of the time, you send the claim, you get it denied, then that's your adjudication. You send it, you do the position, and then they pay or not. Usually, it's kind of always going to happen, so you have to be always ready for that. But again, the filing, the appeal, going through the deposition, and all those things take time, extra money, because now you have to put lawyers and other resources into it, and then at the end of the day, it might not be it might not be enough money that you're gonna bring back. So why go through the whole hassle of doing it if you don't have to? You're gonna probably lose money. But a lot of people, I also know a lot of people that like it as a challenge. If you work for a normal run-of-the-mill general practice, you're gonna see workers' compensation cases here and there, and just a lot of copies, a lot of things. Now, here's something that is a little bit different. The appeals process, it's different from the appeals process for Medicare. If you remember, I showed you that Medicare had 5 levels of appeals. Goes from the MAC contractors, then independent contractors, then the judicial system, and 3 steps of the judicial system, and you can get all the way to the Supreme Court. Okay, here's a little bit different. Because we know how this works, then we have arbitrators, and the procedure is called the deposition, in which the party will answer the questions under oath. It's not held in court, and it will pay if it's successful, or it will hold it if it's not. It takes around 1 to 2 months. I think it cannot be over 60 days. So if you think about it, most of the insurance companies are going to pay between 14 and 30 days. So here you might not get paid all the way to 60 days. So again, there's more time, and a bunch of things can happen in between. So adjudication is resolution or determination or payment or denial, or what is happening to the claim. So adjudication is the decision from whomever saw the claim, payment or denial. And if it becomes a denial, you can appeal it. You will never get an adjudication if a claim is dirty or not proper. You don't get a rejection, and that's not an adjudication because they didn't even see it. The other thing that why we have managed care, why we have case managers, and why is it so freaking complicated to get paid is because fraud and abuse. Not to stop fraud and abuse, is because of it that it becomes like horrible. So, workers' compensation fraud occurs when some individual knowingly obtains benefits for which they are not eligible. This last part here, they are not eligible, means that they are lying about what is happening. Okay, so it's simple. Oh my back, oh my back. Okay, someone is saying that they have back problems, and they go through the systems, and they, because they're gonna get some money from their wages, and they're gonna get money for treatment. They're gonna be at home, not working and still getting paid. So it's like a really recipe for fraud and abuse. It is. So because of that, it gets both sides need to have a lot of documentation. That's because we have the managed care. That's why we have the case managers. So we need to put something in place to see that if you get injured, then you can get the treatment that you need. Uh, the problem with saying that everything is fraud is that when someone gets injured for real, then the insurance companies are gonna say, no, everybody lies. That's not real. So in order to help that, we should have either the managed care uh, system that works really good for that, and the case managers. So fraud in simple terms is to lie, and abuse is when the system is used to get extra money. So in fraud, the patient could be lying or the provider could be lying. In abuse, usually the provider is the one that is trying to take advantage of the system. So if the patient is trying to take advantage of the system or the workers' compensation, in order to do that, they have to lie about it. So that's fraud. But the system can say, well, I need to see this patient, every week or whatever. Anything that is not medically necessary, anything that is not the same way that it should be for every other patient is and it's extra, and you're giving extra things to that patient, that's going to be considered abuse. Because of that, uh, like I said, we have the case managers that are going to be there with the patient saying, yes, this is normal, this is what we should do. No, this is not normal practice. This is not gonna get paid. We're not gonna do this. Okay. Uh, because worker compensation is so, let's say, it's a thing that can end up in fraud and abuse a lot, then the penalties are extremely severe and usually end up being fines and jail time. Again, it's not even funny the amount of people that end up patients that end up in jail. Again, not patients, employees that end up in jail because they are committing workers' compensation fraud. Disability or workers' compensation fraud, it is a crime and it's against the state or the federal government, and that becomes criminal in uh, in nature, and then because of the amount of money that you're getting back or the resources that you're using, it can become a felony really, really fast. And again, it could be a felony could be anything over 1 year of jail time. So it's horrible for the providers or for whomever agency is committing the fraud. If it's not the employee, the fines are steep. There's a lot of fines. There's a lot of things. They could even close the uh, the practices. Now, different from almost every single fraud here, there's three people or three entities that can commit the fraud. The employer can commit fraud, the employee can commit the fraud, or the provider can commit the fraud. usually is only, we're gonna say employee patient, but usually is the patient or the provider. Okay, the patient really like rarely can commit fraud and abuse. Usually it's a provider. So the provider is the one that when we talk about fraud and abuse, we think about the provider doing those things. In this case, um, anyone of the players, the employee, the employer, or the provider. So now there's more people to it. So in order to everyone to be checking everybody else, so we have the employee, we have the employer, we have case manager, we have the insurance company or the HMO, um, and we have the workers' compensation part of the federal government. So everyone is looking at everyone. Okay, so when there's more players, more of those players can commit the fraud. So now we're talking about a bunch of people that can. Oh, I missed the provider also. So the provider is also here. So the provider here in the middle. So now we have the employee, that's the patient that goes to the provider, the case manager that goes to the provider, insurance company, like any of them could commit the fraud. There's more players, more people can lie or abuse the system. So at the same time, because we have more people, then more players, and everyone should be looking at what everybody else does. And when that happens, nobody gets along and it becomes a problem. Same thing, workers' compensation fraud is individual or the provider knowingly lying about the services, and if they do it on purpose just to get more services, to get more money, and that is abuse. Fraud, to lie, abuse, to take advantage of something. Both of them are wrong. Both of them are um, unethical. Both of them are illegal. One is for sure knowingly, the other one could be not knowing. So abuse could be not knowing, uh, but fraud is always knowing. You always know that you're lying about it. Eligibility for workers' compensation. If you are a for-profit company, corporation, or state employee who has a work-related injury, you're eligible for workers' compensation benefits if something happens to you while you are at work. Coal miners, shoremen, harbor workers, and federal employees, except those uniformed services with a work-related injury, are eligible for workers' compensation plans in the federal side. Identification card. Some workers' compensation will issue an identification card because you are not an actual patient until you get injured. Many of them don't. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. You will not have an identification card per se. I've never seen one in a bunch of years. What you do have is case number, and that case number becomes education number. You have 100 workers in a company, 100 employees. They're all protected by the workers' compensation insurance, but they are not patients yet because they haven't been injured. So why make all those cards? Why make all those things if not? So you have usually a case number that identifies the patient. So again, some of them will have longer longer stay at the workers' compensation case, so they could get an education card, but usually not. But there's always an example. So again, the workers' compensation will have what is the uh, the why are we getting this? So this is a workers' compensation experts, and this is a Brown healthcare plan. Employer name is a Green Consulting. Employer policy is that one. That does not mean that that's the patient's name. Okay, so in this case, this is a workers' compensation card, and that's a workers' compensation number for the employer. So in that case, it's like I was saying, the employee will not get a specific one until they become patient. Usually, this is what we haven't seen yet. In the back of the card, we'll have information on how to submit things or whatever it is, and you will have information on where to set the CMS 1500 claim with a specific uh, information on the healthcare plan address, phone number, fax, whatever it is. So again, this is something that is not seen regularly. It will be the the policy and the case number. And again, after you have it once, you're gonna keep using the same one until the patient is out of your hair. Few things that you need to know, like always, there's a fiscal agent or something that is going to uh, uh, receive the claims for state plans. Again, it could be the state insurance or compensation fund. It could be a third-party payer. That remember, third-party payer means what? Private insurance. Sometimes HMOs. Okay, it does not have to be an HMO, but it could be a managed care. Employer special company capital funds. Sometimes the employers are gonna just put money aside for that. So it's kind of like a bank account. They're gonna put all the money for the workers' compensation insurance fund in a bank account, and then if anyone has a problem, then we take the money from there to treat the patient. That works really good, and it's something that probably in the future you'll see a lot more of people or individuals doing in the private sector. Just put money aside instead of paying your a specific insurance, all that money, and not having that money at the end of the year. Then you put it in a bank account, and it's like a health benefit savings plan. So it works really good. Some workers' compensation plans are like that. If it's a federal plan, then you get the information from human resources officer at the agency where the patient is employed, and that way that's where you're gonna send the information to. We could have underwriters, federal or state government, depending on the case, and again the forms. CMS fitting on the form for professional, UBO for form for institutional, and the first report or progress notes as you follow. Again, simple. Now in here we're gonna do it backwards, but CMS fitting on the form plus the report to the underwriter or to the information of human resources on the federal plan, or to the employer special company capital funds, or to the third party payer, or to the state. Okay? So you send the CMS fitting on the form to a fiscal agent, either from the state or from the federal. If it's the state, it could be the state insurance or compensation fund. It could be a private insurance, or it could be the capital funds. If it's a federal, you have to check for human resources for that one. Or you send the whole thing to the underwriter, depending on the case. Like it's different, but all that information, you need to get it only once, that first time, and then keep doing the same thing until the patient is done with you, like very done with the patient. Claim submission deadline. Remember that? For most of the claims and payers are gonna be completely different. Remember, it's 1 year for Blue Cross Blue Shield, 1 year for Medicare, 1 year for um, Medicaid, 30 to 45 days for private insurances, including HMOs, for any of the other government sponsored plans. 1 year for CHAMBA, 1 year for TRICARE. Here is as fast as possible. It changes from state to state. It's between 6 months to a year if it goes through the federal or the state directly. It's between 30 days and 45 days if you get it through the um, the, the private sector. Uh, Deductible and co-payment. I'm gonna highlight that. This is the only thing that has no deductible, no co-payment, regardless if it's an HMO. Remember, Medicare has deductible, has co-payment, has co-insurance. Medicaid does not. Okay, but if you end up with a Medicaid HMO, then you could have co-payments. Medicare has co-payments, has Medicaid, Medicare by itself has deductible and co-insurance. If you get an HMO of Medicare, you will have deductibles, you will have co-payment, you will have co-insurance. Uh, if you have Medicaid, you do not have deductibles or co-payments. But at least in Florida, we have Medicaid through an HMO, and you could have co-payments. Even the military, you could have co-payments. Anyone, chambier, like anything will have deductible co-payments and stuff like that. Here we don't. And again, think about it. Think about why. Why don't we have deductibles? Deductible is a yearly thing that you have to pay before your insurance pays. Well, because this is not a yearly thing, this is only per accident or per case, then deductible is not a thing that we have to apply. And co-payments kind of the same thing. Now, on top of that, the patient or the employee got injured or is sick because of performing their duties for their employer. So the employer is responsible. Just like if you get into a car accident, you don't have to pay nothing. The individual that caused the accident, the one that is responsible, pays the whole thing, and you don't pay deductible co-payments. But they are deductible and co-payments that have to pay whomever is responsible. Here, there's no deductible, there's no co-payment, there's just a chunk of money that is going to hopefully be enough to put you back in the workforce. So, premiums. The premiums are paid by the employer. So, workers' compensation is a state-run plan or a program or a federal-run plan paid by the employer. The employer can buy it through the state, or they could buy it through private insurance. There is a approved fee. That's another fancy word for. I don't need that color. Approved fee or allowed fee. Like in Medicare, allowable. So allowable amount is an allowable fee, an allowable approved fee or a fee. That is the one that we're going to use, and it's based on the state commission or the state board is going to establish what the fee is. So basically they're going to take the Medicare fee and they're going to adjust it to whatever they think it is. And like in Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, CHAMBA, and all the governmental plans, because it's kind of a governmental program, the provider has to accept assignments. You cannot, pardon my French, bitch or complain about payment. If it's paid, that's it. Okay? So if they send you $10, that's payment in full. You're gonna say, hey, but it was 15. No, that's it. So usually is pays good. Don't get me wrong. Pays a higher amount than the other insurances because there's no deductible co-payments. But the problem is that if you don't get paid, you don't get paid. Now, some we call billing notes for special handling. When the claim. Okay, when the claim is going to be sent. Okay, you need to either have a referral, or you need to contact the employer immediately before you do anything to that patient, because they could have gone to some other place. And if you see the patient as a provider second, you will not get paid. Okay, so if you do not have a referral, you have to confirm with the employer before you send any claim to any doctor. One of the other things is if the patient is from another state or something happened in another state, immediately contact the board or the commission of the state where the work-related injury happened, regardless if the patient is living or at least in front of you. It doesn't really matter. You have to check for both where it is and where you are. Most of the things that we said before, you need to have a signature. For this one, there's no signature needed. Basically, because you're actually talking to the one that is the insured, the employer. So the signature comes from them, not from the patient. If you have established patient and has work-related injury or condition, you have to send it to workers' compensation. You cannot send it to their insurance, and you have to open or separate the account. You have to open a second account for the workers' compensation claim. Usually this happens, for example, let's say you go to the orthopedic surgeon or you broke a leg when you were, I don't know, 20. Now you are 25 working for a place and now something happened at your work and you messed up your leg again. Then you go, well, I have this surgeon, I can go to them. Then when you go back, if it's work related, everyone has to stop and we have to make sure that we contact them and say, hey, I have this patient here. It was a old patient of mine or a established patient, and he's seeking help for a workers' compensation injury. Then you have to start and get approval from them and all the information to send a claim. Basically, you cannot do anything if you don't have the information for the claim. So you ask the question, this is a workers' compensation? Yes. Okay, let me figure that out. You're not going to use your private insurance, you're going to use something else. And the whole thing has to start over, like if you were a new patient, because we're using a different insurance. But it still happens that private payers could be billed for things. So if the patient did not tell you that that was a work-related illness and you send it to the private insurance and the private insurance pays for it, then when the patient wants to do it through workers' compensation, the claim will be denied. And that becomes a problem because now you have treatment outside the workers' compensation and it becomes a problem. So the patient in that case is the one that has to figure out the appeals process through the workers' compensation payer. So there's an order, there's a thing. That's why in the CMS thing on the form, there's a block that will ask you, is this an accident or any type of accident related? So if it's car or other, if you see that it's something that happened at work, you should go through the workers' compensation. If not, it's going to be a problem with the patient and a problem with the provider. Because, for example, if you send it to the private payer, the private payer might say, no, this is a work-related issue. You should send it to workers' compensation. I'm going to deny it. And the workers' compensation is going to deny it because you already sent it to the other one. So now you have multiple things and no resolution because you cannot see the patient afterwards until all of that is resolved. You could, but you run the risk that you're not going to get paid. And again, for us, it's all about getting paid. So again, what happens when a claim is sent to the primary plan? It gets basically denied twice. Denied by the plan, denied by the workers' compensation when you try to fix it or try to send it to them already. Now, one of the things that we need to remember is that the CMS 1500 form has uh, a way of putting all the information that you need. Yeah. So when you are putting information in the CMS 1500 form, you need to make sure that you follow the instructions of the state agency, whomever is going to receive it. So if they say that the information has to be in this block, in the other block, like all those things matter. So workers' compensation claims from the beginning all the way until you submit that claim is going to be different. So you have to be careful. Many of the things that they're gonna ask are simple, and many like again, if you get used to them, you're gonna be used to it. But they're gonna be different from most of the other ones that you've seen. So this is a kind of a stupid question, but CMS 1500 claims submitted to the Division of Federal Employees Compensation, and which one here is Federal Employees Compensation Act. So geek is the name of it. But say that again.
Is it other?
Well, look, this is a question that I like to show, and I show it to the group because of this. He says, we submitted a claim to the Federal Employee Compensation of the Federal Employees Compensation Act Commission. The only one that has FECA is this one. Okay, so but you could do it like this. Does he say group insurance or HMO anywhere? No. Does it say VA? No. So it cannot VA. Okay. So it cannot VA. It's not group health plan because it doesn't say anything. So you have two options. It's either B or D. But if you read into it real quick and you say, look, that FECA thing is right here. So that's the one. But again, that's a question that has a bunch of distractors because it has this Division of Federal Employees Compensation, and it has this. And you're looking for that here in the bottom. It's not there. So it's kind of a trick question, but at the same time, it's super easy. That's how the questions in the exam are going to be. The most information they have, there's only one thing there that matters. Again, I could do this. I love to do this, right? What I'm going to do is, you already know me, you know that I'm going to start doing this. If I eliminate all this crap, and I eliminate all this crap, and I eliminate all this crap, like, isn't those two things the same? Anyway, that's the last thing already? Okay. Yeah, it's done.
Professor, can you put back the definition again of the work
Which one?
hour? Oh, there we go. I got it for the federal employee compensation. Yeah.
So let me show you something real quick. Let's see. So I can. So the question is asking in the CMS 1500 form which one you are going to use. So the question is saying in block number 1, okay, block number 1, and the first block is this one. In block number 1, okay, in this block, where are you gonna put your X? Okay, and the options were Chambier, group, the FICA, or other. Okay, so you need to think about what you're doing, and you're putting an X somewhere, and that X could go on Medicare if it's Medicare, it could go on Medicaid if it's Medicaid, it could go on TRICARE if it's TRICARE, it could go on Chambier if it's Chambier. If it's anything else that you don't know what it is, it's other, If it's a group health insurance plan, we'll have group, and if it's the FICA one, in that case, is there. But the way that the question is, it's not. It's not. Sometimes you go like, okay, if I'm looking at the CMS 1500 form, what goes on block one? Well, in block one, you need to remember block one is the first line, the first block that you have, and it talks about the different insurances that this claim could be sent to. Okay, so just know that again, the only one that's kind of weird that you don't know is that one, the Black Lung Program one. Okay, so called Black Lung or FICA. Anything that is a private insurance that does not have a group plan is going to be other. Anything that has a group plan is usually HMOs. HMOs are going to be again Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, MBA, or workers' compensation. If they have a group, they're going to have a group number, so you put group, and then when you put your information, I'm putting X's all over the place. My bad. When it's asking you for the numbers, okay, well, the numbers go in 11. Jesus Christ, why this one goes here? It says insurance policy group or FICA number. Okay, so that's another way of knowing. If you have a number for that, it goes here. So that's why another thing that we're gonna do is go over this again, even though I already showed you this, but I know that you keep forgetting. I have a little thing that I'm gonna give you guys to practice. It's examples of information that goes in here in the claim, and I just want you to go and put it in. So you'll see. It's a little practice. As soon as you do a few of them, you'll be fine. But just because I have it here, the first part is the information on the patient, the first 7. Then after that, the next 7 are gonna be, actually not 7, but 6. The next 7 technically could be for the insurance. The next 7 are gonna be for doctor and referring doctor and ICD, and then the next 7 are gonna be, actually the next one is 24. That's a big one. It's gonna be for when what we did. So that's gonna be the information on dates and CPTs, charges at the end, who did it, and all the way in the bottom, there tax ID number, patient's account, assignment of benefits. A set of assignments of benefits, and then information on billing. So all of this is kind of the same all the time. I'll do it like this also. Maybe this helps a lot more. This first part is patient information. This next part is going to be insurance information. Then we're gonna go to the next section, and the next section is going to be referring provider and ICD. It's gonna be this section here. Then we have 24 by itself. 24 by itself is going to be dates of service, services, charges, and who submitted that. So, or who provided the services, for the doctor's name and MPI, for example. And at the end, information on tax ID, the doctor, the location. What is this? Sorry. Tax ID, tax ID, supplier signatures, location, and billing provider information. So if you memorize those things and you go, okay, so the first, if I ask you what goes on number 2, without looking at it, what goes on number 2? Let's ask that question. Anyone, I want anyone to before I go.
Information to patient, no? The patient.
B, place of service. In 24D, the CPT or HICPICS. 24J, the MPI of the provider. Yes, no, maybe. See?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions before I let you guys go? That's the last of the chapters from the book. Next week we're gonna practice with the CPT, HICPICS, um, and the ICD book. We are going to practice with the terms. I think we're gonna start the week with the terms. And we're gonna start practicing with practice exams from the NHA. So we are, like I said, ahead 2 days. So probably the last 2 days of the term will be um, like super hard practices on everything. So we'll have time to go over math again. The same things that we're gonna do next week, we're gonna be able to do it again, not as in detail, but at least refresher. And we're gonna go over every single thing that we've gone so far in a more condensed way with the NHA module. So we are around halfway. So we're doing good. So if there's anything else that you need, just let me know. If not, just keep doing what you're doing. Everyone's doing really good. And yep, that's about it. Next week, Tuesday, probably terms, and hopefully we'll be able to have everyone in so we could do the NHA account. So that's something that we need to do next time. So what I'm gonna do is, because some of you get here a little bit later, I'm gonna start with on the next class with the people that are here early. We're gonna start with those doing the NHA account, because basically sometimes it's like one by one that we have to do it, and then we'll move to the class, and then the ones that got here late, then at the end of the class, they'll stay for a little bit, and we'll do it that way. So hopefully we can maximize the time. Any questions or anything else before I let you guys go?
The the exam will have a 150 question, no? Uh, 30 question is about the co-payment. The uh, yeah, yes, 50, 15. Oh, 50 question is the coding. 30. Okay. And the other is the main concept. Okay.